Hi guys, so today we're going to discuss Snap GK and we're going to discuss about what are the important topics that needs to be done by the aspirant as far as Snap exam is concerned. Now, first of all, we need to understand that Snap is a very much choosy exam, right? It is not, it won't ever ask you everything that comes under the purview of GK as such. So they'll be like very much specific as far as the areas that they're going to cover. So today in this video, I will be actually talking about all the important areas that you can cover in a couple of days to kind of get a good score as far as GK is concerned. So to begin with, the most important aspect of Snap GK is nothing but personalities. So what you got to do is basically understand what has happened in last 1 year, like around about 12 months till 16 months, to be on a little bit safer side as far as personalities are concerned. You can kind of go till 1.5 years because you don't want to take a chance. A lot of people might be telling you that, okay, do it from December 17 till December 2018. It shouldn't be that case, right? Because if there is any event that has happened or that has occurred, which is like really important, right? But that has occurred, like say, in the duration of 16 months, right from now, I think you got to do that because it's an important thing. Okay, now, the other thing to make a mention about is that what all things come under personality. So first of all the business tycoons, all the sports people, the politics guys, everything that comes under personalities can be asked to you. Now, do you have to do every goddamn thing that comes in here? No, predominantly no. So as far as personality is concerned, Snap can ask you questions on the international level and on the domestic level also. So you got to do it India and international also. So anybody or any individual or any a bureaucrat or anybody who has made it big to the news, right? Who has been in the news over a period of time, they will be definitely asking you. Now, let's be assured that they will not be talking about somebody like Malia or Modi's and all that stuff, right? Because these guys have been there and it's quite obvious that people know about them. Students know about these people, right? So you need to understand, personalities we've been talked about, from a perspective of anything to do with the women empowerment, any women who has actually made it to the big level, like maybe any CXO level or anybody who has won any kind of, award or something like that. So as far as personalities are concerned, so you need to understand business tycoon, politics people, everything from last 16 months. 16 months, why I'm saying, because that's a safe bet to kind of do very well on the personality. So personalities is going to be mostly asked kind of a segment as far as general knowledge of Snap is concerned. You'll be getting maximum questions on the personalities. Okay. Next, business and economics. So guys, this is the second most important, the segment of your Snap GK, and trust me, this is vast. There is too much to do, but you're not going to boil the entire ocean. So I've kind of made it easy for you guys. I'm going to give you a couple of headers or a couple of sub points of business and economics. So what do you exactly need to do as far as business and economics topics are concerned is, number one, deals by corporates. Okay, so any company out there who has signed any deal, right? Say for example Walmart and Flipkart, or maybe for example Michael Kors and Versace, right? Or anything to do with the Apple and the Google, right? So all these big companies, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, all these big companies, if they have done any kind of dealing with the government of a country or with any startup or with the other company in the same industry or the competitor, you got to know that because they might be asking you on this front. So business and economics is concerned, so first focus goes with the companies, the corporates, right? Anything to do with the deals should be knowing, right? Then comes deals, pacts, agreements by the government. As far as these things is concerned, now trust me, this is not a pretty vast domain as such because you don't get to listen to these things every now and then. So these are pretty exclusive. Even if you Google them up, say even if you just Google deal, pacts, agreements by Indian government for last 12 months, you'll get very much data. But trust me, you'll get data which is like quite sufficient. There won't be any. I don't think there will be more than 10 to 12 headings or news out of this, right? So again, something which is pretty much manageable. So any pact that India, China or India, Pakistan or India, Afghanistan, anybody that has signed, something to do with the Russia or Pakistan or China, CPEC, right? Something like that. China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, anything to do with the US economy. Like Trump has been making a lot of changes as far as the economy is concerned. So US tie-ups with the, other, economies in the world, maybe Korea or maybe North Korea, South Korea, or maybe China or India, whatever it is, right? Any pact or any agreement that has been taken care between two major countries in the world, right? It can be in the area of defense, it can be in the area of education, so on and so forth. So any country, right? Any country that has signed a major pacts or deals, you need to know them. But on this category, I would say it is more towards the India. So if India has done anything significantly good on this front, I think Snap will be keen to ask you that. And anything on the international level, if there is something that has been signed by two major economies in the world, which is again quite significant and been talked about, definitely can expect a question on it. Number 3, economy which has made news. So there are a lot of economies in the world, who are doing pretty well, and there are a couple of economies who are like completely sucking, right? So there are a couple of economies, like if you talk about Venezuela, right? A lot of people are migrating from Venezuela to Cambodia. Why? Because they have an economic problem. So any economy which has been struggling, for example, let's talk about, there is a lot that's happening as far as the European Union is concerned, Eurozone is concerned. So that is something you need to understand, that which economy. For example, when I say economy, it's nothing different, it's the country that I'm talking about. So any country which has been talked about a lot from last during the duration of last 16 months, for the good thing or for the bad thing, you guys need to know that. So focus on those economies. Then big announcements, for example, Brexit, or any business diversification by the corporate. So Brexit has always been there, and it's been in the news from a couple of years, but again, there has always been some or the other changes that take place as far as Brexit is concerned. Then, for example, I have also given you the idea that business diversification. Now, business diversification would include, say, company like Walmart now getting into the business of the e-commerce, right? Anything to do with like that. So you see any company that has made major announcement to do with their business diversification, that they might want to venture into other opportunities as far as the global economy is concerned, yes, you should be making note of this. But guys, trust me, all these big announcement, even if you Google for last 16 months altogether, I don't think you'll get more than 6 or 7 news, right? So it's important that you need to understand that if when you look at these pointers, you might feel that, okay, this is too much to do, but then it's actually not, because Snap will be only focusing on the important crux of it. So yeah, any big announcement like economies like Brexit and all that, and any company says, okay, we are diversifying, or we are shutting down some businesses, or we are opening new headquarters in somewhere else, or we are buying some new stuff and all that, you need to know that. Then space areas. Okay, from last 1 year, I think there has a lot been that is taking place as far as the space area is concerned. Now we can talk about the SpaceX, or we can talk about the the vision or mission of Mr. Elon Musk, something like that. So there has a lot been asked about it. I've given the example, for example, name of the rocket, right? So if there has been anything or any activity that has taken care by ISRO or NASA, they might want to ask you what's the name of the rocket, right? They might want to ask you the head of the project. So it not necessarily need to be from last 16 months. It can be anything. It may be from last 2 years also. But yeah, whatever is happening in the space areas, you guys need to have an idea about it. Then comes science, any innovation, any invention, anything to do with the science, maybe you can talk about any invention as far as medical as an industry is concerned. You can talk about any vaccination, you can talk about any vaccination on for the diseases like AIDS, or for the disease like cancer, or like any goddamn thing that has made news, anything from the area of science, invention including, has made news in last 16 months. You should be able to understand that. Okay, cool. Next, this is again an important category, which is startups, venture capitalists, private equities. Now, what happens basically, if you see any startup being acquired by Facebook or being acquired by, say, Twitter, something like that, you need to know that, right? Any major mergers and acquisition, it is not only the deals, those have been able to manage, or rather deals who have been cracked. No, even the news, right? For example, Michael Kors and Versace, the news has been there, right? You got to know that, okay, what's happening, why they are merging, what's the major, the business that they have, who's the head of the Versace, or, where is the head office of that company, where does it belong to, so and so forth. So that's the thing that you can talk about. As far as the IPOs are concerned, yes, you don't see IPOs happening on a daily basis, on a monthly basis. It's a pretty niche area, not a volume based, it's a quality based. So yeah, you can Google it, you can Google it, last 12 months IPO in the international economy, something that sort, and you can understand you will get around about 10 to 12 IPOs, nothing more than that. So you need to understand, okay, what IPO, which company, what date they will never ask you, but yeah, they might ask you the business of the company. Then comes the business deals. Again, the way I say, like, India and China, what pacts they have sided with each other. In the same way, you can have say a major company in USA from the defense front. I would say, okay, that's Lockheed Martin. All right. So if Lockheed Martin gets into a business with any of the other company to kind of complement their business, yeah, you got to know that. Okay, so Lockheed Martin has signed an agreement. It can be a synergy merger, or it can be any goddamn thing. You need to understand as far as the companies are concerned in the world, just the way I explained to you about the governments. Then comes the private equity. So there are private equities like, Sequoia and Tiger and all that stuff. So you need to understand, have they been backing up any company as such, or, have they been, lending money to any company or any startup in the world? So you need to understand that. Venture capitalist, same on the private equity front. Any venture capitalist who is paying a huge amount of money, or, who's kind of, funding huge amount of money to any Indian company or any company which is based out of India. Yes, it's important that you should be knowing this. Again, not a volume based, something you can still manage. Then comes sports, the third, the most important category for your snap. Sports. Now, most of the time we are keen to learn all the winner of the sports, right? Maybe it can be an Australian Open, it can be Wimbledon, it can be French Open, it can be Formula One, it can be Football World Cup, Cricket World Cup, so on and so forth, right? So do not always remember winner. Yeah, you got to know them very well, right? But you should also know the loser, and kisne kisko haraya tha, something that sort, right? So you should also be knowing the people who actually made it on a second level, something like that. Then you need to understand the mascot. Okay, you also understand the venue. When was the last. Where was the final match was played? When that happened actually? How many? So let's say football game, right? Or say cricket World Cup. After how many years you can have them, right? After how many years you can see them? Something that sort. So you guys kind of need to understand the sports, right? Then again, like there is one more category, is that the how many times consecutively, if any person has won the French Open or US Open, something like that, how many medals they have won. As far as the countries are concerned, they might ask you, how many gold medalists were there in the Commonwealth from India side, which is the country that won the most number of the gold medals, right? So that's the sports category. So whatever comes in the sports category, it's important that you should be knowing them. So it's not only winner and loser. They might ask you something like, China won, how many gold medals, say in Commonwealth or Asian Games and whatever, right? Something that sort. Then comes the awards. Awards is quite important. So that's something to do with the international and the national awards. Also, they might ask you about Nobel laureates. They also might ask you about which is the industry or which is the domain wherein Nobel awards not been given. Okay, they might ask you that kind of question. They might ask you who's the they might ask you something on the Max Essay Award. They might ask you something on Indian awards are concerned, right? Maybe Padma Bhushan or whatever awards that we have, right? So as far as the awards are concerned, in last 12 to 13 months, yeah, here you can kind of go ahead with 12 months. So last 12 months for awards, freeze it. I think that's more than enough. Then comes government schemes and yojnas. Any yojna or any government scheme in the housing industry, in any part of the country or any part of the world, any government. Mostly these kind of questions will be asked from the Indian perspective a lot, not from the international perspective. But if there is anything that any government in the world has done significantly well, for example, I remember US government has done something to do with the taxation for all the big companies. So they have kind of changed a little bit of their taxation policies so that all the major companies like Google and Apple and all that, they can bring their money back to the home country. So I think something that kind of a thing you can remember or you can read about. Again coming back to the same thing, right? Government schemes and yojnas, predominantly Indian, right? So you can keep that in mind. Also, as far as government is concerned, I have not included this point, but again, it's important. Your indexes, right? Your HDI, your East to do business, all these indexes are also important. If they have made any news in last 12 months, you need to understand. Now, a lot of time it happens that people only remember, India, as far as the Human Development Index is concerned, India was on rank 136th. And then this year, India has moved to 129th. Everybody knows about 129. That's the position that India holds as far as the HDI is concerned. However, is that going to be a straightforward question? May not be the case, because they might want to make it a little bit tough for you, and they might ask you that which was the country now holds 136th position on which India was there a year back. So they might ask you that, or they might ask you that, okay, for example, India has now reached or grabbed 129th position as far as the HDI is concerned. which was the country which was there on 129th position and it has moved to what position now. So this might get a little bit tricky and a little bit tough for you, but it's important that you should know all the gamut of this. Then comes capital. Okay, though Snap says that they will be only asking about the current affairs, but I think capital is something they can ask you. I know there is a lot of countries that you need to remember and their capital also. I'll be quickly making a video on this. Maybe tomorrow you can see that there is a way to kind of do the capital and currency also. You don't have to actually boil the entire ocean. There are a couple of important capital and currencies. If you keep them in mind, I think the job is done. Then comes the organization. For example, IMF, their headquarters, there's who heads them. When was the last time they had their international conferences? What's the purpose of IMF? The date of establishment. Okay, any kind of a pact or agreement that they have signed, or United Nations for that matter. Any kind of a regulation or any kind of resolution that they have passed recently. You might get questions on it, okay? Then come G20, G7, G10 kind of organization wherein they might ask you. G20 has been in the news a lot these days. They might ask you, where did the summit happen? So it's not a conference, it's basically a summit wherein all the countries representative gather together. They have a meeting, so and so forth, right? So as far as G20 is concerned, they might ask you who heads it? Who heads it? So like G7, G20, G10, these guys have their representatives. So it's not necessary that all the time prime minister will be head. They have different pattern altogether. So for a couple of G organizations, they have the governor of a central bank heading it. They have governor plus president heading it, or might be they have the the finance minister and prime minister heading it. So these are the things that you need to keep in mind. Okay, so I think even if you cover these many categories, I think you'll be able to roundabout knock off somewhere between 18 to 20 questions. That's for sure. I will also be making a video. That's the next video I will be putting across, which is based on the capital and currency, and the next video will be actually giving you guys an actual questions of 2016 and 2017 which Snap asked, right? And then you can kind of understand, okay, which all these categories are important, which are I've mentioned in this video. So guys, do take care of these categories. Doable. You can spend 2 days and you're done for it. Okay, so yeah, if you have any questions, put the comments on the videos. Thank you so much.